So this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while. It's been on my mind a little bit, and you got to be rich to homestead. Now, that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but bear with me for a minute. So, I wouldn't say that I'm actually rich. That's probably a significant overstatement. However, I do have 20 years of savings and equity and everything tied up into my homestead. And I still don't have a house. Right now we're living in an 8x20 cabin. Let's just go through some of the things that I've spent money on. Power, about $3,000 to $4,000 to get my power in. Shop, probably $60,000 into it. Sawmill, new, they're like $25,000. I picked it up used, so less than that. Cabin, container alone was $4,000, and then I probably was in about $10,000 plus $2,000 to get it to Seattle, and then another $2,000 to get it to here. Now, all of the lot work, like if you notice, that's what this area normally looks like, is that. Notice how my lot doesn't look anything like that? That's because the people who owned it before me cleared it, but they also put in my house pad and my shop pad, as well as the area for my garden. They cleared that area back there. It was all trees. That, if I'd paid somebody to do that, $60,000 to $80,000 probably. And then septic, get a septic installed. Now, I had some help. The tank cost me $3,000. And then because I had some help, I probably have another $1,000 into fittings and everything. But if you had somebody else install it for you, you're probably looking $20,000 to $30,000. So you can see it adds up really, really quick. However, there is another way. For those of you that are just starting out, that haven't had 20 years to accumulate some stuff, I've had a good paying job. For those of you that are just starting out, there's another way, and I want to give you a little bit of hope. Let me tell you about my neighbor over here. So, my neighbor over here, wife and a few kids, I'm not going to go into any details, but wife and a few kids, was able to buy that piece of land, was able to save up, works at the local mine, good paying job, but not anything fantastic. Was able to save up, buy that piece of land, rented some equipment, got a little clearing cut. They lived in a camp trailer for a year while they built their house, and then they also have a little pump shed. Then once they got the house built, then they sold the trailer, and that's what they're living in. Notice Tyvek siding, that wouldn't fly in the lower. There's not very many places in the lower US anyways that would fly. However, I think it's awesome. They're just building it as they go. They don't have a lot of extra cash, so when they get cash, they put the next important thing up. Right here, the most important thing's a roof. They got that, and some walls, as my wife often points out. So they have no debt. Imagine what it would be like if you didn't have a $300,000, $400,000 mortgage just to get by. Imagine the freedom that that would open up to you. I would say here in Alaska, probably like a quarter of the houses don't have any siding on them other than Tyvek. I've got neighbors that live in boats on a trailer. But what that allows you to do is to live in such a way that you're actually free. You don't have that mortgage. You don't have all those responsibilities that normally you would have. There's very few places left where a couple starting out could actually make it without going into huge debt, without developing these. 2 decades is how long it took me to get here. I could have been here 2 decades ago. I would have been willing to live like that. I didn't even know it was an option. So another neighbor down here, just getting started. Not a full-time guy, but a lot of people will get stuff rolling until they can move out full-time. But yeah, just a little cabin. Not much, but all you need, like a roof, a dry space, a little place to stay heated. Man, it's amazing how much you really don't need. All of those things that seem so important. Like if you're willing to sacrifice some of those, you can have freedom like you wouldn't believe. So that's a lot larger house. That's an older gentleman, but he's spent all summer getting the siding on it. Guess what it had before that? Yep, Tyvek. So here's this little cabin. Nothing amazing, but all you need. It's a good thing for you I'm not a resident, otherwise I'd have myself a buck right now. And I wouldn't mind having me a little buck right now. So here's another way to get ahead. These neighbors pulled in a camp trailer and basically built a shelter around it. Boom. In like 3 months, they had a place to live, had everything they needed. And then basically what ends up happening is that they'll just build another extension as they need it. Like, really hard to beat that. Just another couple starting out. That neighbor back there built that house in just a few months. Again, not a huge place, but everything they need. Nobody living in there right now, but more than one person up here lives just like that. Probably not optimal, but again, what would you be willing to trade for the kind of freedom that not having a mortgage, not having to go to work, if you hated your job, what would you give for that kind of freedom? Now you might have thought I was joking when I said that Tyvek is like the official siding of Alaska, but yet another neighbor. That's exactly how they started out. Built a trailer, or drug in a trailer, and then built a porch on the front of it. Got a pump house for some of the other things you need. And they're ready to go. Like, their basic needs are met. Another one of my neighbors, older gentleman that lives by himself. That's what he wants. That's all he needs. How amazing is that? Like, really, really amazing. You don't have to be a slave to that mortgage. you can have everything that you need for a fraction of the cost. So there's a caveat to all of this, of course. There's a reason the vast majority of people don't do it this way. It's not what you would call an easy life. Like, not a lot of space. You're going to be cold and you're going to be hot. And depending on the season, you're going to be doing without quite a bit of stuff that people consider essential. I don't think most of that stuff makes you any happier. Another thing to keep in mind, we live in seemingly increasingly troubled times, one might say. What happens if the grid goes down? It's gonna go down at some point. Like, we keep stressing it, just the load that AI is gonna put on it all by itself. We keep stressing it. What happens when that fancy house of yours, the 3,500 square foot house, how are you gonna heat that thing? How are you gonna get fresh air into it? How are you gonna cook? All of those things, they'll be gone. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm not very optimistic that it won't at some point. It might not be this year, might not be next year, might not be for 15 years, but at some point, if things don't change, it's gonna go that way. All of my neighbors, like, yeah, life will get a little tougher, but it's not gonna be that big of a difference, honestly. Just my perspective on homesteading and how I'd get ahead if I was a young person now. Yeah, if I was a young person, and I know now what I didn't know when I was a young person, I'd definitely look at a different lifestyle. Thanks for hanging out with me a little bit while I ramble on a Monday, and look forward to seeing you soon. As always, no need to like or subscribe. That isn't the reason I hang out with you. I would be interested in your comments on this. Am I the only one that sees it this way? I don't think so. But till you have a good discussion, you never know.